And the Supreme Court has highlighted the crisis created due to forced conversions. Calling it a very serious issue, the top court has said that forced conversion affects the security of the nation and freedom of religion and conscience. Not mincing any words, the court has also asked the centre to step in, warning that if it's not stopped, a difficult situation will emerge. The Supreme Court directed the centre to take a stand on the matter and file a response in the week, informing steps that are being taken to prevent such an occurrence. Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us with us is Ashwini Kumar Dubey, advocate on record. Manasvi Thapar is also with us, lawyer and political analyst. Let me start with you first, Manasvi. The court has made some very, very serious observations, and they have said that while there may be freedom of religion, as per the law, forced conversion certainly cannot be acceptable, and they have asked the centre to come out and explain themselves and also file an affidavit by later this month as to what really they propose to do about this.
The Supreme Court went hard on the centre, and while the centre has been very vocal about love jihad and religious conversion, when it comes to ground reality, the Supreme Court is very right. They have failed miserably, and now we have to see by 28th, the next date, what the centre is going to do. But when it comes to manifesto, I was just going through when all the BJP have committed. I just quote two examples. In 2022, in UP election, in Uttarakhand election, in their own manifesto, they said that there will be some kind of a provision and legislation in the states, but nothing on ground has happened till yet. In 2021, in Tamil Nadu also, in their manifesto, they talked about love jihad. But apart from talks, when it comes to legislation, when it comes to some kind of provisions to protect conversion, they have not done anything. And Supreme Court is precisely right. It is only two states which I know. One is Odisha and Madhya Pradesh, which has done something in terms of conversion, but the centre has miserably failed on it.
Okay.
And I think they should act on what they say.
Let me bring in Ashwini Dubey on that. Ashwini Dubey, what Manasvi says is that the centre may have spoken on these issues in the past, BJP may have spoken about it, but on ground what they've actually done, apart from the two states of Odisha and Madhya Pradesh, very little has actually been done in terms of action on ground. How do you respond to what Manasvi's observations are?
Action on ground is required. Why it is required? Because under the shelter of Article 25 of the Constitution of India, what this convergence are taking place, because the fundamental right to practice and propagate religion does not include the right to convert. And exactly the Supreme Court was discussing on this issue. Supreme Court was referring and saying that it is a very serious issue which relates to the integrity and sovereignty of this country. See, Justice A.N. Rai probably is one of the landmark judgment what he has said, that the word propagate has been used in Article 25(1) of the Indian Constitution, but that does not give the right to convert another person to one's own religion, but to transmit or spread one's religion by an exposition of its tenets. Now, there are 8 states in this country: Arunachal Pradesh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand and Uttarakhand, which has anti-conversion legislation. Arunachal Pradesh passed legislation way back, but that has still they have not framed the guidelines. Odisha has law, but there is no central legislation, and the terms decided for conversion has differed from state to state.
Okay.
That is why the need is to have one legislation which has been said in Revered Stainless case 1977, 1 SCC 677. In Supreme Court time and again has said that deceitful conversion is not allowed under Article 25 of the Constitution of India.
Absolutely.
And only indicated persuasion without coercion, and the right to propagate did not include the right to convert any person. And that is why Article 25(1) of the Constitution guarantees freedom of conscience to every citizen, and not what has been in Lavanya's case, what has been done in Madhya Pradesh Sagar district, what has been done in Maut Badhir बच्चों का जो उत्तर प्रदेश में हुआ. That is why the need to have a central legislation.
Manasvi, you've made a number of points over there, sir. I just want to quickly sum that up, and I want Manasvi to respond to it. Manasvi, several examples being cited by Mr. Dubey as to opposition rule states also whose conduct has perhaps been found wanting. What has very clearly happened is that this crisis at some level or the other of forced conversions has been linked to all sorts of things. It's been linked to saffron agenda, so on and so forth. But the fact is that if the court is observing it, this is a very, very real thing that's happening on ground.
Apart from that, there are tribal areas in various states which have rampant conversion. The real lacuna, the real vacuum is in the central legislation. There is no talks on the central policy. There is no central framework on the conversion ground. It is only an election agenda. Now the center should walk to the talk. It is their time. The Supreme Court went heavily on them. On 28th, they should file a counter affidavit with what is the framework, what is their policy, what is the provision they are going to think on conversion, because this is a national security, as the Supreme Court rightly
But what
pointed
about
out.
those who
And
politicized it, sir? What about those who politicized it? You're not answering that question.
I don't think Supreme Court is politicizing it.
I'm not talking about Supreme Court. Manasvi, please. Manasvi, you know what I'm asking you. There are several political leaders who have time and again raised questions saying that this kind of crackdown on conversion is some kind of saffron agenda or Hindutva agenda. The fact is that it is the law of the land, and the Supreme Court is saying that in so many words, that whatever is the law of the land has to be implemented. Those who politicized it thus in the past will have to come back and now retract the position.
Let the center make a law. I can't speak on those people, unnamed people who have spoken about it, but right now I am here to talk about what the center has done, and I hope by 28th they file a counter affidavit with a legitimate, with a proper framework of provisions, and what is their stand on conversion. Are they in favor, or if they are not in favor, how are they going to counter it? In Uttar Pradesh, in their manifesto, they have mentioned it, but no action on ground till date have been done.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. The center's on test over there. But let me bring in Mr. Dubey. Mr. Dubey, you know, Manasvi, of course, has tried to skirt the question. But in the past, whenever this issue of forced conversion has come up, you know, it has always been looked at through a political lens. And we've seen several leaders come out and express their apprehension, saying that, no, this is just Hindutva agenda, this is just saffron agenda. Today, the Supreme Court's observations make it very clear that there is a crisis. And it's a crisis that needs to be tackled. Can we ignore? Can those who have spoken out against it, is their position tenable now?
See, how can a religious conversion, the deceitful conversion, the conversion in lieu of 1 kilo rice can be said as a Hindutva agenda? Look, I would like to give the statistics. On 3rd December 2021, a private missionary school refused to allow its student to enter the institution. I was wearing Lord Ayappa Mala, is Sadasiva in Telangana. Now, in 2018, Gujarat government sought an explanation from the missionary school in Gandhinagar over the allegation of a teacher cutting off rakhis from the student rates. 3rd December 2021, NCPCR issued a notice to Superintendent Police Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, seeking a report on a complaint of feeding cow meat to children at St. Francis Seva Dham Ashram. So, Lavanya's case we have seen. Chawal ke badle conversion we have seen in the Meerut. Mook Badir bachcho ka conversion we have seen in Meerut, and every day it is happening on those states which have a legislation. Odisha has a legislation, you see what the missionaries are doing. Jharkhand has a legislation, what missionaries are doing. And Chhattisgarh has a legislation, and a number of it you see. Those states which have legislation, there is a conversion with a speed. So in Sarla Mudgal case, the law is very clear. We cannot say that right to convert include the right to propagate. So constitutionally, if we talk about the constitutional guarantees, then constitutional guarantees does not mean that you have the right to convert. It's right to propagate. In Sarla Mudgal's case, very famous case, Supreme Court held the religious conversion by a person into Islam from a non-Islamic faith.
Ashwini Dubey, we are completely out of time on this discussion. I'd like to thank you as well as Manasvi for joining us. Certainly all eyes are what the centre will do. The centre certainly will have to come out and make its position clear. Will it be bringing in a law? Will it be bringing in some other kind of framework? We'll have to see what exactly the centre has to say as far as the questions that were raised by the bench today are concerned. But nevertheless, the fact is that the Supreme Court has observed that this is a major crisis and that something has to be done about it. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.